He sees it.
Paid dividends.
This next-generation heavyweight forced the champion, arguably the greatest fighter in the history of the sport, to avoid facing him for more than 700 days. Tom Aspinall, without landing a single strike on Jon Jones, sent the legendary fighter into retirement.
Hello, John.
He's annoying to me. He's annoying to me. I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him.
Is he just trolling everybody? I don't know. I don't know, John. I don't know him at all, but can he be that dumb to just flat out say no in front of everybody? I don't know.
But why does Jones fear him so much? There are many reasons. Aspinall is the fastest heavyweight in the sport's history. Despite his elite grappling skills, he has been knocking out opponents in under a minute. Yet it's not just these qualities that made the 17-time world champion relinquish his title without a fight. To understand the phenomenon that is Tom Aspinall, we need to start from the very beginning. Tom Aspinall was born on April 11, 1993, in Lee, Greater Manchester. Like many fighters, his father played a pivotal role in his life, becoming a role model and mentor.
I couldn't imagine my life without combat sports. It has been in my life for as long as I can remember. My dad, he used to work in IT, but he retired from that years ago and then started teaching jiu-jitsu full-time. My dad is a former fighter himself. He's always been into martial arts and he's always been around. Even on my mum's side, they had fighters, boxers, and even if they weren't fighting professionally, they were all like scrappers and stuff anyway, so it's always been in my life.
Tom's father, Eddie Aspinall, was one of the first black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the UK and introduced his son to the world of martial arts.
Tom started to grapple when he was maybe 6 or 7. When he was about 10 or 11, he started to really enjoy it. And because I was teaching jiu-jitsu, he was a mat rat, he was with me every day. He'd done all the particular sports, jiu-jitsu, boxing, wrestling.
Eddie opened his own gym and personally coached Tom. By the age of 10, Tom was already practicing wrestling and later branched out into boxing and Muay Thai. His success in BJJ mirrored his father's, as he won several prestigious tournaments. Eddie's reputation as a coach eventually led him to a position at the Liverpool gym team Cowbon, where he agreed to train only under the condition that his 15-year-old son would also join.
I first met Tom when he was 14, 15. I think his dad would have come. Maybe second year I opened and was looking to use a bit of mat space, practice a bit of jiu-jitsu with his friends. So we got talking to him, and then within a couple of weeks it was like, what am I learning? A bit of jiu-jitsu, if I do jump in and do a bit with it. And he says, I'll do your deal then. I'll teach you a little bit of jiu-jitsu if you coach my son. I was lucky enough to get him so young, so I was able to mould him into what I thought I'd like him to look like. From them early days up, for me it was all about getting him fast, keeping him moving, getting his angle game up, getting him as agile and as quick as I could, and that's how I've trained him. So now I believe he's probably as fast as a welterweight. So I put him against welterweights in here, you can outspeed him no problem, you can outgas tank him no problem. So I think it's worth, I think it's paid dividends. I remember the first time I had to sit down with somebody when he was 50 years, like, what is it you want to do? And he just said straight away, I want to be in the UFC. So I guarantee I'll put you in the UFC if you just keep doing what I'm telling you to do.
It was at Team Cowbon that Tom first became interested in MMA. Together with his father, they decided to take things slow, building experience through as many amateur bouts as possible. From his very first fights, Tom showcased the skills that would later captivate fans. Outstanding grappling and spectacular knockouts.
Quick hands, strong game, every fighter like the main striker forward. It's Aspinall.
Out of 9 amateur bouts, only 1 went the distance, with the rest ending within 2 minutes. As it became harder to find opponents at the amateur level, Tom made the decision to turn professional.
The way that me, my dad and Colin looked at it when I was fighting amateur was, we'll just take as many hard fights as we can at amateur to get the most experience we can. So I think out of 9 fights, I think 7 or 8 of the people I fought were unbeaten. In my third amateur fight, I've also won 8-0 with 8 knockouts. I really enjoyed the amateur days, actually. I would have won 50 fights if I could. Problem was, with my amateur fights, is I basically ran out of best fighter.
His star began to rise in December 2014 at an event, MMA Against the UK. There, he debuted against Polish fighter Michał Piszczek, who held a record of 1-1. His opponent immediately went for a takedown, but Tom easily took control, secured a dominant position, and forced a submission with elbow strikes. 2 months later, Tom signed with the British organization BAMMA. His first opponent there was a young fighter, Ricky King, who looked more like a laborer than a professional athlete. Tom quickly took control of the fight, but King managed to clinch and throw Aspinall to the ground. Despite the difficult position, Tom turned the tables, catching his opponent in a submission. For this victory, he was awarded a brown belt in BJJ by his father.
Tom Aspinall!
With each fight, Tom gained momentum. He once knocked out an opponent in just 9 seconds and later faced a more experienced fighter, Stuart Austin. That bout was grueling.
No cool, just Aspinall.
In the first round, Tom had to defend himself on the ground. But in the second, he turned the fight around But due to inexperience and the desire to finish off his opponent, Tom was caught in a submission. Tom's first career loss became a valuable lesson. He took a break to reassess his approach and returned to face debutant Adrian Ruszczak. Despite his opponent's significant size advantage, Tom dominated, winning by technical knockout after pinning Ruszczak in the corner. Looking for a greater challenge, Tom chose to fight a veteran, but the bout ended in disappointment when he was disqualified for illegal 12-6 elbow strikes. Determined to bounce back, he took on Kamil Basilak, nicknamed Wanderlei. The Polish fighter, despite his underwhelming record of 3-7, tried to fight aggressively. But couldn't withstand Tom's precision strikes. The one-sided fight ended with Basilak unable to offer any resistance. Following this victory, Tom's career hit a long pause. He didn't fight for 2.5 years due to a lack of suitable opponents.
In England, there wasn't a heavyweight like him. It was about 2015 where opponent after opponent just pulled out. So there aren't many heavyweights around, and heavyweights pull out.
So when 2.5 years for Tom would get an opponent, we'd be sitting in venues for an opponent not to turn up. So a lot of people would have thought, okay, fair enough, he had a good go, he needs to go and earn money, support his family. But he trusted and he believes because we knew where we wanted to go and how we were going to get there.
The situation worsened when his family grew with the birth of a child.
It was very rough for me with MMA, to be honest. I had a child and then we found out that we were having twins. I wasn't getting no regular fights and people were like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to provide for your family? I was training all the time. I was struggling to get opponents though, and the fights just weren't coming through, and that was probably the toughest time of my whole career.
Financial difficulties pushed him to the brink of retirement. He even had to borrow money from his father. However, after a heartfelt conversation with Eddie Aspinall, Tom found the strength to continue his journey. A turning point arrived when Tom received offers from both Cage Warriors and the UFC. However, understanding that he still lacked experience, he declined Dana White's invitation and focused on competing in the British League.
I was aware that the UFC were looking at me anyway, so that's why I signed with Cage Warriors, because I thought they could give me better opponents if I could give me more time in there before going to the UFC.
In February 2019, Aspinall returned to the cage to prove he was still in top form. The fight ended prematurely due to his opponent's actions, but Tom displayed confidence throughout. 7 months later, he faced debutant Michael Benhemond. Aspinall, almost playfully, showcased his speed and striking precision. Finishing the bout with a spectacular knockout. This victory once again caught the attention of UFC matchmakers.
Cage Warriors were really struggling to get my opponents, and they told me that. And I thought, if Cage Warriors release me, I'm back to square one. So it's either I go to the UFC now, or I'm back to where I was like 2 years ago. So obviously I went for the UFC, and obviously it was the right move, so I'm happy with it.
Initially, his UFC debut was scheduled for March 2020, but the pandemic forced a delay. The fight eventually took place on July 25, 2020, when Tom faced Jake Collier, a former middleweight who had moved to heavyweight after a long layoff.
A little bit. He's put some pressure on. Now we're turning the fatal with that knee. We ran hill.
Collier appeared out of shape, and Aspinall's speed stunned both his opponent and the audience.
For the boxing of Aspinall films.
Tom opened with a knee to the body, followed by a boxing combination
Tom Aspinall just checking his range and his distance.
That ended the fight in under a minute. The performance earned him a Performance of the Night bonus. Tom's second UFC fight came 3 months later against Alan Baudot, a late replacement for Sergei Spivak. Baudot, nicknamed the Black Samurai, couldn't handle Aspinall's precise strikes and attempted to retreat. Tom, however, took him down, transitioned to the ground, and secured a victory. Following this loss, Baudot's career began to decline. Aspinall's success led to a fight against former UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovsky. Despite his age, Arlovsky was known for his resilience. The veteran started aggressively,
He did very good attention straight away.
but was caught with a heavy shot to the chin. And Tom nearly ended the fight in the first round.
Look at the house speed. Arlovsky's going in. He just took up his body. You know, it gives him a chance to get back into this fight.
In the second round, the Brit took Arlovsky to the ground, quickly established a dominant position, and secured a rear naked choke.
I am going to achieve a tap quickly to Arlovsky.
The victory earned Tom another bonus and a spot in the UFC's heavyweight top 15. His next fight took place in September 2021. Originally, Tom was set to face Sergei Pavlovich, but visa issues forced the promotion to substitute Sergei Spivak. Spivak entered the bout on a 3-fight win streak and had a reputation as a dangerous grappler. However, Aspinall left no room for doubt.
Or, you know, stipe miocic, those people out there. Oh, the great deal was there. So, to your point, Michael.
Earning a dominant technical knockout victory that once again impressed the fans.
Oh, Mike asked him that.
The win earned him yet another Performance of the Night bonus and praise from Dana White, solidifying his position in the UFC.
Aspinall!
With 4 consecutive wins, Aspinall was on the brink of fighting the division's elite. Despite the anticipation surrounding his next move, Tom opted for patience.
I need a lot more experience before I fight them guys. I'm not ready for them guys yet.
Stating he wanted to prepare fully before facing top-ranked opponents. However, the UFC had other plans, booking him as the main event in London against 6th-ranked Alexander Volkov. Volkov, a seasoned striker, had developed significant knockout power and was considered one of the division's most dangerous fighters. On fight night, Aspinall showcased his superiority.
Fast talking though, less is history that.
First, he unsettled Volkov with his movement,
welterweight style they bring it a cowbob. But Tom is having absolutely none of it. Oh, there's another elbow. Aspinall giving it us.
then executed a textbook takedown by slipping under Volkov's lead hand. On the ground, Tom dominated. Sharp elbows and precise positioning led him to a submission opportunity, forcing Volkov to tap out. This victory not only displayed Aspinall's versatility, but also cemented his status as one of the UFC's top heavyweights. In his next fight, Aspinall faced Curtis Blaydes, a perennial contender in the heavyweight division. Known for his elite wrestling and ability to neutralize top fighters, Blaydes posed a serious challenge. Tom started aggressively, but suffered a knee injury just seconds into the bout while attempting a kick. The injury was severe, and the fight ended prematurely. Having to leave the octagon in front of his home crowd was a devastating blow for Aspinall. Recovery took an entire year. During this time, Tom dedicated himself to a rigorous comeback plan. His first opponent post-injury was Marcin Tybura, a durable fighter but not part of the division's elite. From the outset, Aspinall demonstrated that he had not lost a step. His strikes were sharper, more powerful, and technically diverse. The fight ended spectacularly when Tom delivered a precise punch to the jaw, knocking Tybura out in the first round. The victory over Tybura put Aspinall back in the title race. He announced his intent to compete at a UFC event in Paris, reaffirming his ambitions.
I'm going to go to Paris. I'm going to be sat front row. The Cyril against Sergei Pavlovich. I'm going to beat the winner, and then I'm going to beat Jon Jones.
Meanwhile, a sudden twist involving Jon Jones changed the trajectory of his career. At UFC 295, Jon Jones was set to defend his title against Stipe Miocic. Despite having other contenders in the division, none had racked up decisive wins at that point. As a result, fans welcomed Miocic's return to the title picture, given his status as the most successful heavyweight in UFC history. However, just weeks before the fight, Jones sustained an injury during training. Scrambling for a replacement, the UFC ultimately convinced Tom Aspinall and Sergei Pavlovich to face each other for the interim heavyweight title. This matchup became the culmination of both fighters' long journeys. Aspinall and Pavlovich, two of the division's most dangerous and deserving contenders, were set to collide in a fight eagerly anticipated by fans worldwide. As the fight approached, concerns about Aspinall grew among his supporters. Tom openly admitted he was nervous and afraid, a stark contrast to Pavlovich, who, despite his reserved demeanor, exuded quiet confidence.
Yesterday, you said that Sergei was probably the scariest man in MMA, so I'm just wondering, first impression seeing him on stage here.
Pretty scared. Scary guy, mate. Yeah. He's definitely an intimidating guy. Generally speaking, the more scared I am, the better I do in the fight. So that's... DC actually told me today about, what was it? Honey badger, the animal.
Yeah, honey badgers are the league leaders in fear, so they're pretty dangerous in combat.
That's me. I'm the honey badger moving forward, so I'm happy with that. That's cool.
A question for Sergei. Sergei, Tom has continuously called you the most dangerous man in the UFC, but for you, do you believe he is the most dangerous guy you could be fighting this weekend?
Thank you very much to Tom for giving me that distinction to be the most dangerous in the division. But, you know, I also think that Tom is a pretty dangerous guy. He's very good at stand-up, very good on the ground. We're not taking him lightly. We're preparing for 100%, and this is going to be a real full fight.
I would have definitely liked more time to prepare, obviously. But I know one thing. I'm not going to fucking win the fight sat on the couch watching TV, watching it. Like, I'm going to be in there Saturday night. I'm dangerous, and it takes one shot at heavyweight. And I'm not going to land that sat in the UK watching it on TV. So why not be here having a go?
Pavlovich was widely seen as the favorite. On fight night, fans' anxiety for Tom peaked. However, the fight had barely started when the outcome became clear. Against all odds, Tom Aspinall knocked out the most feared puncher in the division in under a minute. His victory was especially shocking, given his pre-fight admissions of fear.
I openly admit that I'm scared and I'm going to do it anyway. Like, that's when I do my best. Like, look when Sergei whacked me with the overhand right, my mouthpiece started to come out. Like, that's when I do my best work. When a big scary guy's coming at me like that, like, that's when I'm at my absolute best. And I embrace fear, like, with open arms, and I'm happy to be scared and perform like that. I basically didn't have any training camp at all. I wasn't really in the best shape. I got the call like 3-4 days after. I pulled my back really bad. I couldn't barely even move or do anything. And yeah, it's been some, and I didn't have a visa as well. It's been some 3 weeks, let me tell you. It's been absolutely insane.
After claiming the interim title, Tom explained that he always feels nervous and scared before fights. He emphasized that he's just as human as the fans watching him, fearful but committed to performing at his absolute best. The event was a massive success, with the UFC quickly adapting to the last-minute changes. However, one unexpected consequence arose. Aspinall's performance was so dominant that fans lost interest in the previously scheduled Jones-Miocic matchup. Instead, they began clamoring for a fight between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. The hype only intensified after a post-event interaction where Aspinall asked Jones for a photo. Jones responded by aggressively brushing his hand off Aspinall's shoulder and refusing to pose for a face-off style picture. As time passed, the anticipation for an official announcement of Jones versus Aspinall grew. Instead, fans were dismayed when the UFC doubled down on announcing Jones versus miocic. This decision enraged the MMA community. Matters worsened when Aspinall was forced to defend his interim title against Curtis Blaydes before Jones even defended his undisputed title. For the first time in UFC history, an interim champion was scheduled to defend their belt before the reigning champion. The situation became so absurd that even casual MMA fans criticized the UFC's handling, accusing the promotion of protecting Jones from Aspinall. To quell the backlash, UFC President Dana White appeared on various shows and podcasts, repeatedly reading statements from a script about why Jon Jones is the greatest fighter of all time and isn't afraid of anyone.
Ooh, Jon Jones. That's badass. That is fucking badass. Look at that card. That's a very special card. He's got a Jon Jones card that looks like a king. Are you kidding me right now?
Jon Jones is absolutely positively the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. Probably the greatest fighter of all time in any sport.
To deny this guy is the GOAT anymore, I don't think anybody would deny it. Not only is he the greatest light heavyweight ever, he looks like the greatest heavyweight ever too.
So you've talked about Jon Jones, but what are the metrics involved here?
He's never been beat. He destroyed everybody at light heavyweight, which at the time was the toughest weight class in the company, in the sport. And then he moved up to heavyweight, won easily at heavyweight.
Over time, White's transparent defense of Jones turned into a meme, with fans mocking his apparent desperation. While Dana White worked tirelessly to salvage Jon Jones's reputation, the moment came for the interim champion to defend his title. Tom Aspinall readily agreed to a rematch with Curtis Blaydes, despite the fact that Blaydes hadn't even landed a strike on him in their first fight. For Tom, however, that bout had haunted him like a nightmare, and this was his chance to prove that the injury that ended their previous encounter was nothing but a fluke. The fight ended almost as quickly as it began. Before the audience could settle into their seats, Tom Aspinall once again obliterated his opponent in under a minute. That night, the Brit avenged his only loss in the UFC and became the first interim champion in history to successfully defend his belt before the undisputed champion. After the fight, it became abundantly clear to everyone, except Jon Jones perhaps, that Tom Aspinall was the best heavyweight in the world. In his post-fight interview, Aspinall respectfully called out Jon Jones, inviting him to settle the matter of who truly deserves the top spot.
Hello, John. I have nothing against you personally, but I just think I'm better than you. I just know that I can beat you in a fight, so I'm coming for it.
But would Jones agree to face him after his bout with miocic? Months passed following Tom's victory, and the prospect of a matchup between the current best heavyweight and the former best heavyweight drew ever closer. The question of whether Jones would fight Aspinall was becoming unavoidable, but Jon Jones chose to give increasingly bizarre and nonsensical answers.
John, with that narrative, you've obviously been having a little bit of fun with it in the lead up to this fight. You're saying quack quack on Twitter, addressing the duck things. What are those fans getting wrong? Why are you not ducking Tom Aspinall? What are they reading wrong about this situation?
Okay, so I feel like the narratives have been created that just truly aren't there. You can't duck a man that you were never scheduled to fight. It's like saying you got turned down by a girl who you never even hit on. You know what I'm saying? It's like me and Dana and Hunter have never sat down and talked about Tom Aspinall. He's never been on my radar. Never. I mean, just a moment ago, it was him and Sergei that was fighting. And Sergei could be in this position right now, and I would still be in the same place of, I've beat people my whole career, and once I beat them, like the show just goes on. Like The French fans were just all over my case, and I just beat their guy, and I find myself constantly in the same position of, oh wow, he just beat another guy. Like what's next? You know what I mean? Like when I beat Glover Teixeira, he was on a 20-fight winning streak, and you beat Glover, and then everything just moves on. So for me personally now, it's just like I get that Tom is an exciting fighter. I get that finally after 16 years, we found somebody who's 7 years younger than me and 30 pounds bigger than me. Like we finally found someone who may give me a great challenge. And everyone wants to see it so bad. But for me, it's like, what's in it for me? He changes nothing if I beat him. Beating Tom is just like beating Cyril Gane. Has a whole country behind him, he's hot right now. What happens to me after I beat him? Nothing changes for me. So I'm not ducking Tom Aspinall. If I failed to fight Stipe, I would be ducking Stipe because we contractually have been signed up to fight over a year ago. This is Stipe's position. The Tom narrative came out of nowhere. He won a belt, and now suddenly I'm ducking him. I've never had negotiations to even fight him, if this makes sense. So the fans are just ignoring it. They're ignoring all logic, and they just have finally found someone that they think can compete with me, and everyone wants to see it now.
I guess the clarifying question then is, if Dana and Hunter do come to you after this fight, the figures make sense to you, would you then be open to fighting Tom Aspinall, or are you categorically thinking, he does nothing for me, I will not fight that guy?
He does nothing for me. He does nothing for me. If you're a person that wants to see me really challenged, then I get it, right? Like I said, 7 years younger, like 35 pounds bigger than me, right? I get it. It's like, wow, this John's so good. We finally found someone way younger and way bigger than him. Let's see how he does against that. I get that narrative. But for me, if you were my manager, if you were on my team, why not fight against Pereira, a guy who's the same age as you, and we walk around the same exact size? Right now, I had to eat a big breakfast because I'm getting underneath 235. Pereira walks around at like 240, and he has magnificent accolades. Business-wise, it makes more sense. I'm gonna call him this, fight the nobody that may be more dangerous, or fight the guy with all the accolades, who's incredibly dangerous, but it actually will affect your legacy. Me beating Cyril Gane didn't change anything for me, just gave me a few more millions. And it would be the same for Tom Aspinall, where when you look back and it's like, John just beat Alex Pereira. It's bigger. It's just much bigger. And anybody who can't understand that logic simply doesn't want to.
I agree that the Alex Pereira fight would be massive. Obviously, the accolades, I think it's a really strong argument you make. That said, I think that one of the critiques people have is not that you picking Alex over Tom, it's he doesn't deserve the fight me statement. When you compare his career at this point to when you got a title shot, he has more wins, more stoppages, more wins against ranked opponents, more main events. He's got the interim title. So what is your response to people saying, like, not that you take it out Pereira, I mean, gosh, the guy's amazing, right? But Tom doesn't deserve me comment.
Well, maybe I didn't phrase it right. Maybe I didn't phrase it right. You know, the truth is he does deserve many great things in his life, and I wish him to have a magnificent UFC career. I really do. I have nothing personal against Tom. But if I'm being completely honest, I feel like Tom's been such an asshole that I don't want to do business with him. You know, it's just like his fans have been so annoying. And obviously you don't get this far in a career being affected by fans or whatnot, but he's just an asshole, you know, with his, you know, he's 30, so he's from this influencer generation where you hop online and the t-shirt sales and all that. I'm past that type of stuff. I'm like, bro, if you had a little bit more respect, then maybe we could have worked something out, you know, but.
Even Jones's most loyal fans found themselves unable to defend him. The situation escalated to the point where Dana White publicly stated that Jones would have to fight Aspinall next.
Yeah, you know, John is one of those, you know, challenging guys to deal with. And I think that, you know, he's talking about retiring, but will he, if the Aspinall thing is really flying out there? I personally think John challenges himself and takes the fight, and yeah, I think he does it.
Only for Jones to offer yet another pitiful excuse. Never in the history of professional sports had there been such an obvious and blatant avoidance of a fight. Not at the elite level, nor at any level. It wasn't just Jones avoiding Aspinall. It seemed the UFC itself was complicit. Tom was deliberately sent to unrelated events to ensure he didn't cross paths with Jones. Meanwhile, Jones, increasingly paranoid, refused interviews with anyone who spoke with an English accent.
All right. Good, man. Good. Have a seat, sir. Hey, I'm not gonna do this interview. You don't want to do it? No, because it's gonna be an Aspinall fest. I'm not gonna. Let's go. Hey, bro, nothing personal. I see how close you guys are, and common sense tells me what type of questions I was going to get asked. So I'm just like, give it time to speak to who you want to speak to. Thank you.
At one point, the absurdity reached new heights when Tom's microphone was cut off mid-sentence as he tried to mention a potential fight with Jones.
Is he just trolling everybody? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, John. I don't know him at all. But I think that, can he be that dumb to just flat out say no in front of everybody? I don't know. I think maybe it might be a little technique to try and, I don't know, push the fight down the line or something. I've no idea.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but you have a great show on YouTube where you break down these fights. So we keep focusing on the future and what's next for you and yada, yada, yada. I'm interested to know what your vision is for Saturday. Like, how do you think this fight is actually going to play out? Oh, did he lose me?
Hey, Tom, can you hear me? Tom, can you hear me?
Tommy, can you hear
Sorry, I can't hear nothing.
He can hear. He just wants to get off the interview.
Yeah, he want to answer the question.
Hello? You're not there no more. Hello?
Hey, Tom. Hey, Tom. Tom.
No.
All right. I think we lost him.
Yeah, we lost him. He's out of here.
Despite the circus, MMA fans, not just Aspinall's supporters, held on to hope for justice. Tom attended the Jones-Miocic fight, believing that the winner could no longer ignore him. But Mr. Jones proved to be craftier than anticipated. Predictably, he defeated the aging miocic, who moved like he was fighting underwater. The stark contrast in speed and reflexes between miocic and Aspinall only fueled the demand for a fight between Jones and the interim champion. Yet even on this night, UFC commentator Joe Rogan seemed to step in to protect Jones.
You know what? While I got the moment, while everybody's cheering and so happy, I want to acknowledge Jesus Christ.
Is that knowledge of Jesus? Is that knowledge of Jesus?
I cannot take credit for a gift like this. And if everything goes right, then we'll give you guys much more to see. What does that mean? What is that, Alex Pereira heavyweight? What is that? What do you think? You know, I know that we have options.
He briefly mentioned Aspinall, but quickly pivoted, asking Jones if he'd consider fighting Alex Pereira, the reigning light heavyweight champion in the heavyweight division. It was a clear attempt to deflect and avoid putting Jones in an uncomfortable position, but Jones took it even further. Instead of addressing the obvious challenger, he performed a bizarre dance reminiscent of Donald Trump's antics, leaving fans in disbelief. The post-fight press conference offered more of the same. Jones delivered increasingly feeble excuses for why he wouldn't fight Tom Aspinall.
I'm not really worried about the Tom fight. I'm really worried about the Pereira fight. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, and I think if the UFC wants to have me back, then I think that's the fight they'll make. I've been really clear about my intentions. That's what I want, and I mean, I just feel like anybody would understand at this point. Like, you know, I'll retire the heavyweight belt if I have to. It's like, dude, give the guy what he wants at the end of the day, you know. And I'm not talking to Dana directly. I feel like I'm at a place now where, you know, like I want to take what I find to be super fights. I don't want to fight dangerous up-and-comers anymore. I want to fight dangerous, established champions. So Tom can have the heavyweight championship. I don't really care about it. That my body doesn't lie in belts anymore. I've created something much bigger. I want prayer. You know, people can call me a duck and a chicken. I'm gonna go home and cash a massive check. And so the duck and chicken thing is kind of funny. Yeah, that's kind of what I want. And if it doesn't line up, then professing my love for Jesus in front of everybody tonight, and telling the world how proud I am to be an American champion, and fighting in front of my president, man, If that was my last fight ever, then I'm cool with that. That was the way to do it.
Obviously, in media days, there's a lot of sound bites is what everyone likes hearing. The big sound bite this week was you saying you wouldn't want to do business with Tom Aspinall. You said he's an asshole. A lot of people in the media kind of laughed about that, and even the U.S. broadcast was saying, like, what is he talking about? Tom Aspinall's the nicest guy on the planet. He never disrespects John. He says nice things about John.
There's a lot of people.
So what specifically has he said or done to make him an asshole?
There's just a lot of people on his nuts right now. And
What has he done, though?
Coming up with Jon Jones T-shirts, buying a little duck, and just the little shit that he does. So the duck and chicken thing is kind of funny. He's annoying to me. And that's my own personal. He annoys me. I get to you guys, you find it entertaining, but I find him annoying, and I just don't like him. And at the end of the day, if I give him the opportunity to fight me, I want to be so compensated. I want to say it, I want that fuck you money, honestly. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is. Or else, my life is perfect without him. I don't need him at all, and he needs me. And that's a good place to be in a negotiation.
In the end, he resorted to the classic tactic of fight avoidance, demanding an unrealistically high payout, effectively pricing himself out of the bout. In essence, Tom Aspinall retired the greatest fighter of all time, without even stepping into the octagon with him. Jones, whose sins outside the cage and repeated doping violations had been forgiven for years, effectively tarnished his legacy with cowardice. The MMA world, from die-hard fans to Dana White himself, agreed that a fight with Aspinall was the only logical next step.
So moving forward, what do you do? Like, as obviously you said, you want him to fight Tom next, and you said that could just be the biggest heavyweight fight of all time.
It will be.
Yeah. And John was on the post-fight thing. He said he wants to be well compensated because he saw what Jake and Mike.
He will be.
So when do you actually meet with him? Is that a Tuesday conversation, or is it?
I got Tom waiting outside for me right now, and John, you let John do John. John's going to disappear. Not only will you not hear about him or what he's doing, neither will I. And then he will resurface, and he'll call, and we'll get it done.
Even White admitted that a potential matchup with Pereira made no sense.
No.
No? Okay.
You know what tonight told me? There's no fucking way I make the Pereira fight.
Okay.
John's too big. Great wrestler. See how he took Stipe down in that first round? Yeah. I like Alex Pereira. I like him personally.
But
it just
the greatest of all time, right?
It just doesn't make sense to make that fight. If they both want it bad enough and they're both fucking hounding me or something, maybe I would do it. It's just Alex Pereira is killing it. Look at his age and what he's doing right now. What's the reason to go up and fight a guy that's so much bigger than you and such a good wrestler?
In his obsessive quest to protect and enhance his MMA legacy, Jon Jones inadvertently began to destroy it with his embarrassing behavior. What do you think? Will this fight ever happen?
Have you ever been fingered by an MMA fighter before?
He's annoying to me.